Hello from England. In the centre of London, the event Marxism 2013, Explaining a World in Turmoil, organised by the Socialist Workers' Party of Great Britain for 5 hot days in July. With over 200 meetings, discussions and debates, it was a busy schedule and was well attended by a cross-section of people, from scientists to bus drivers and from doctors to road sweepers. A large range of subjects was covered, from the struggle against austerity in Europe to how should socialists organise, from state capitalism to what could a socialist revolution look like, from is China the new superpower to world economic crisis, from climate catastrophe to brutal war and needless poverty. The speakers included Paul LeBlanc, travelling from the USA, Peter Hain, Labour MP and veteran anti-apartheid campaigner, Alex Kalinikos, a well-known Marxist writer, and many more. This included people speaking about the Palestinian situation, deteriorating events in Syria and Egypt, and also people against the rise of fascism in Britain, and against the privatisation of parts of our National Health Service. Thousands of people were joined by speakers and activists on the left from Britain and internationally to debate the issues we face, not only to understand the system we live in, but also to try to change it. We were very welcome because we were from Russian Krasno TV. That is why we had a chance to chat with several people that took part in the festival.
Hello, Krasnaya TV.
You are just about to talk about state capitalism. Please tell us in 3 words, what is it about?
State capitalism is analysis of what the Soviet Union actually was, saying that workers didn't actually have control, which is about socialism, and it's about a materialist understanding of what went wrong, and so how we can also help fight for a sort of future socialist society, so we can learn lessons.
So, do you think there are there were a lot of mistakes to learn from Russian socialist states, the USSR?
I think what we can take from the Russian socialist so-called socialism is that it needs to be about working class self-emancipation, and we need to also link that up and be internationalists as well, because the reason the Russian state degenerated into a state capitalism was because you had the working class decimated, 14 imperialist armies invaded, and therefore Stalin was allowed to rise to power and create this bureaucratic class which acted against the interests of the workers. So I think we always have to take that socialism has to come from below, it has to come from workers fighting back against capitalism, and it has to be rooted in sort of a workers' democracy. But we also to do that, we also need a revolutionary party, which is why we stand in the tradition of Lenin and Trotsky and sort of defend that against the Stalinist counter-revolution.
91% of Russian people regret the fall of USSR, and many are up to rebuild the Red Empire. What do you think about it? Is it?
Well, I think certainly in a lot of the former Eastern Bloc and in the Soviet Union, some people are nostalgic for elements of what went on, such as the social security, the welfare state. And I think it's quite understandable when you look at what neoliberalism has done. But it's important to understand that those states weren't socialist in how Marx would have defined it, which is workers having direct control over production and having a democratic control over society. And if we really want to sort of build socialism, we want to fight for socialism, we have to realize that it has to come from below. It can't come from simply taking control of the state in an election, or it can't come through parliament. It has to come through workers fighting back and actually seizing control over the state, smashing it and building a workers' state. I think it's also important to say that with a lot of the old Communist Party officials, a lot of them just became the new sort of ruling class that came. A lot of them just became capitalist sort of politicians. I think that's important to note that it wasn't necessarily the overthrow of an entire system. It was almost a continuity, it was a sidestep. So if we want to fight for socialism, we have to realise, have a materialist understanding of what went on there, and say it wasn't socialist, and it wasn't even a degenerated workers' state past 1928, because the bureaucracy controlled it, and the workers had no control over the bureaucracy or the state. And socialism has to come from workers actually being in control, and I think that's what we want to do. But we can understand why people might be nostalgic for some of the aspects of it, such as the wages, such as the welfare, etc. But we have to say, if we actually want a society which provides for human need, we can't rely on any sort of ruling group or anything like that. We have to actually fight for it ourselves and run society ourselves.
How possible it is in England or Europe to fight capitalists?
I think the period we're in, we can see revolts taking place across the world. In the last month, we've seen explosions in Brazil, we've seen it in Turkey, we can see the Egyptian revolution continuing, with the working class really being very central to what's going on there. And I think in Britain, despite the struggle not being as high a level as even in Greece, we can see people fighting back over issues such as the bedroom tax, people fighting back and going on strike over cuts to wages, attacks on pensions and all of this. And I think if we can have a revolutionary socialist party like the Socialist Workers' Party that can actually argue to take that struggle forward, and we can actually beat Tories, the Tory government, we can beat austerity, and we can also put those wider questions about what sort of society do we need, how do we get rid of capitalism. So it's about building on the ground, it's about building a revolutionary socialist party in sort of the traditions of Marx, Engels, Lenin, Trotsky, and building that sort of party, and then actually saying, engaging with the working class, pushing that struggle forward, and then we can sort of really put the challenge to capitalism.
Would you say, so where are you from?
I was born in the former Czechoslovakia. I moved here when I was 5.
What do you have to say about Leninism?
Leninism. I think it depends what one means by Leninism. If it's about saying that we need a revolutionary organization which needs to have a critical relationship with the working class, it needs to push forward that struggle but also challenge some of the ideas in the working class, group to those best elements, the most militant fighters together, I think that's absolutely necessary. And I think also one that says we will have the maximum debate possible, but we also, when a decision is taken, we will also act in unity together, and we will be a sort of disciplined combat organization. I think that's something we can take from Leninism.
What do you think about Trotskyism?
Trotskyism, I think we definitely, the SWP sort of stands in sort of the traditions of a lot of what Trotsky said about being on the side of the left opposition, fighting against sort of the degeneration and the counter-revolution that took place under Stalin, arguing that we needed to spread the revolution, that socialism couldn't be built in one country. I think that's all very important. But we don't take, just because Trotsky wrote something doesn't mean it was correct now as it was then. For example, Trotsky didn't think that the Soviet Union was state capitalist. He thought that capitalism was going to collapse following the Second World War. Clearly it didn't. The SWP can realize that just because we stand on the shoulders of Trotsky, we don't just take what he said uncritically. We're sort of orthodox Marxists. The Hungarian Marxist philosopher George Lukács said to be an orthodox Marxist is to use Marx's method, and we use Marx's method to analyse what's going on.
We're a socialist organisation. We stand in Marx's tradition, believe in socialism as self-emancipation of the working class. We intervene in all the various struggles against the Tory attacks which take place in Britain, but with the ultimate aim for a socialist society.
And do you think that Europe is ready for a revolution?
I think that capitalism has shown it's not working, that there is mass opposition to austerity, not just in Europe, but internationally, whether it be Europe, whether it be South America, whether it be Turkey, whether it be in Russia, that discontent is absolutely right in a world where divided by the 1% and the 99%, where the 1% create the crisis and the 99% have been asked to pay for it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Who are you, and can you tell me a bit about this platypus society?
Okay, my name's Lucy Parker. I'm a member of the Platypus Affiliated Society. we're a group that hosts conversations about what it means to be on the left today. We're not a political party as such. We try to bring together different opinions, different voices of individuals and different political groups together and to discuss contemporary issues. We had a series of panels running in New York, London and Chicago called Radical Interpretations of the Present Crisis. These panels are available to watch online as media at our media website, and there are also transcripts available online at www.platypus1917.org. On our London panel we had Marxist theorist Hilal Ticktin, as well as other interesting academics and David Graeber, who was involved in Occupy. And in New York we had a panel with David Harvey, Lauren Goldner, Andrew Kleiman and Paul Matic. We are an open submission publication, so we basically would welcome any contributions about what it means to be on the left today. Our main slogan, as it were, is "The left is dead, long live the left." That is because we believe that the left has entered a serious point of decay, not only decay, but it is actually dead, and we're trying to host conversations about what recognition about what that means, so this is why we're not a party with a political position as such. We're just trying to provoke recognition and consciousness of the decay of the left within the 20th century and its problematic position in the 21st.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Can you tell me a little bit about your organisation, please?
The International Bolshevik Tendency is a small propaganda group. Has members in various countries around the world. Places itself on the political spectrum as orthodox Leninist Trotskyist. Would be to the left of most groups in Britain, probably closest to the anarchist of most of the groups calling themselves Trotskyists.
All right. And where do you come from?
I personally come from New Zealand. I'm living in Ireland at the moment.
Are you?
For the last 7 years.
We're in favour of Lenin.
Thank you very much indeed.
I also think that Trotsky...
Communism would be the highest stage of history and development, where private property is abolished at the same time as social classes, labour division and the state as such. So that's my point of view, communism and communal society.
The revolution was a real workers' revolution. The early years of the revolution did create a real workers' state, but as the Bolsheviks themselves said, it was not possible to create socialism in one country. They made the revolution only on the assumption that it would be possible for the workers to take power in the richer countries of Europe and create a socialist economy on a larger scale. Once they became isolated, the degeneration of the revolution was inevitable.
What lesson do you eject from the Russian revolutions or Russian social state?
From the revolution, well, a lot of it. First, probably the most important one is the need to organise revolutionary socialist organisations in time. That is to start building them before there are revolutionary explosions. Because what happened at the end of the First World War, there were revolutionary explosions almost everywhere in Europe. But except in Russia, there weren't organised revolutionary socialist parties able to help the workers take power. So the workers were defeated everywhere except in Russia. Then Russia was isolated, and given the isolation of the revolution, facing civil war, facing tremendous economic collapse, the degeneration of the revolution, its conversion into the rule over the economy by a bureaucracy was inevitable.
How to avoid, capitalists to suppress social revolution? So how to avoid
by winning next time rather than losing. You know, we're here because of a history in which the working class has been defeated many times, including the working class being defeated in Russia after it had taken power. It was defeated by a merger of a section of the Bolsheviks with the state bureaucracy, which was mostly the old state bureaucracy. The workers were defeated.
Thank you.
Well, I think we've enjoyed some successes. 35 or so years ago, the National Front was stopped by our forerunners, the Anti-Nazi League, the ANL. The British National Party and other fascist groups learned a bit from that, from copying their counterparts in France, like the Front National, and elsewhere in Italy as well. So they've had some electoral success, but in the last few years, UAF, United Against Fascism, alongside other anti-fascists, has campaigned very hard, mostly electorally, countering their propaganda. So whereas 2 years ago they had nearly 60 councillors in Britain, they've now got 3, this is the BNP. In Barking and Dagenham, there were serious thoughts that they could take the whole council. They had 13 councillors, they've now got none. So we think they're down, but because of this crisis of the times, economically and politically and so on, socially, these people unfortunately aren't out.
What cases are of fascists we can see in England?
Well, you have the British National Party, you have the English Defence League, who we class as a fascist organisation, because since their inception 4 years ago, they have attacked trade union offices, left-wing paper sales, particularly mosques. A whole number of their members have been jailed for attacking Muslims, for attacking mosques, for firebombing mosques, for trying to firebomb mosques. They attack Labour Party people, they've attacked our meetings and so on. So they're clearly a fascist organisation in our opinion.
Is that?
Hello. Could you tell me something a bit about your organisation, please?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm in Labour Party Marxist. I'm a member of the Labour Party, putting forward communist politics, Marxism inside the Labour Party.
Great.
And for the Labour left as well. I belong to Labour Representation Committee, and I'm on the editorial board of Labour Briefing. But my favourite paper is Weekly Worker, because it carries the best discussion and political articles, including one by me this week.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I've written about socialist appeal.
Oh, yes.
I went to their school a fortnight ago.
Yeah. Is there just the one school in Britain, or?
No, that was the socialist appeal's third Marxist summer school.
Oh, I see. Where did they hold that?
Oh, that was in central London somewhere. Where was it? I can't remember now.
Oh, right.
Just round the corner.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. And how many groups are there in Britain?
How many groups?
Yeah, how many different groups that are affiliated?
Classically, how many left revolutionary groups? You're thinking? No? 57 is the answer.
Yeah, no. Groups of your persuasion.
Oh, my persuasion.
Well, you know what I mean.
Well, I wouldn't. You're talking about how big the organisation is?
Yes, I am actually.
No. The classic answer is under 1,000.
Is it really?
That's a joke answer. Yes,
yeah.
Much smaller than that.
Is it really?
No, Labour Party Marxist is small. Yeah.
Yeah. How long has it been going?
3 years, 2 years, I think. Yes, Labour Party Marxist was formed when Peter Hain launched Refounding Labour consultation.
Oh, right.
And we answered Refound Labour as a real workers' party.
Which is what it originally started out as, I think.
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of, yeah. Always had a lot to be desired.
Yeah. Well, when they joined up with all the unions and everything, that's their,
it was the trade union bureaucracy
their peak period.
The trade union bureaucracy created Labour Party.
Yes.
And in 1900 and 1906 it became a party. We had people in Parliament, but it was always a capitalist party. It's a capitalist workers' party. That's what Lenin called it. I think he's right.
Yeah, probably right.
And it's still that. But Labour Party Marxist says that it can be transformed. that there's no reason, as some people claim, there's no concrete reason why Labour Party couldn't be won over through democracy and through socialist politics, through Marxism. It can be won over to be a workers' party, and the bureaucracy can be made into the servant instead of the master.
Yeah, I mean, the Labour Party, their doctrine purports to be for the worker, isn't it not?
Well, it depends who you ask. If you ask Ed Miliband, he says it's for work. The secret's in the name, it's the party of work, which is a really bad answer.
It is really, isn't it?
Yes, it should be a party of the working class.
Yeah, for the workers.
The trouble is, British Constitution, which is not written, of course, says that the Member of Parliament is serving the electorate, not the party. So the MPs get elected, then they say, oh, sorry, I represent everybody, not you. And they do what they like.
Yes.
So they're free. And we need a situation where a workers' party needs to have representatives in the council or in Parliament which are responsible to the party that elected them, and they can be removed by the party that elected them, recalled.
Yeah.
That would be a different situation. I don't think, I mean now, if there's a Labour government, as there might be in 2015, it looks like it's going to be another capitalist government like the previous ones, in which case its effect would be to disillusion the working class and weaken the workers' movement.
Yeah.
They shouldn't do that. The principle of the Second International, when it was under Marxist leadership, before World War I, the principle was that you don't take government office to run capitalism. You only take office when you've got a good chance of fulfilling your socialist programme. And that's the principle we should return to. It would be okay for if the Labour Party becomes a socialist workers' party with mass following and so on, then no doubt there'd be a right-wing split, I would expect. The right-wing split before. The SDP was formed when the Labour was looking left-wing. But if they do that, then we should be satisfied to be a party of opposition.
Yes.
In other words, so long as capitalism exists, the workers' movement is in opposition, and its party should be in opposition and not trying to take government office, because it would undermine support instead of building it.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Hello. Where are you from? Where are you coming from?
I come from Scotland.
Are you
We live in Glasgow, both of us.
Nice.
He lives in Glasgow.
Go into the capital.
He wanted to take a foot off Glasgow.
Did you come to this festival especially?
Yes, it became special. Because we wanted to see
Are you a part of a political movement?
Yes, we're members of the Socialist Workers' Party in Scotland.
Yes.
I think Marx was a great man. I mean, he what his writings, what he wrote in the 1840s and 1870s is still relevant today, and it's he was right. Everything he said was right. He predicted even what multinationals are doing today, so it's impressive. He was a prophet. Capitalism is a destructive system. It has to be smashed. It has to be beat. It has to be axed.
Do you believe of revolution from above?
No, revolution from below.
Again.
Revolution from below, not from above. You can't achieve revolution from below, from above, from below.
It's not a revolution.
It's not a revolution if it's not
So
organic.
they won't
It's not the revolution.
Thank you very much.
The Times, Telegraph, Guardian and other newspapers failed to report the festival. No problem. The left parties have their own newspapers, internet sites and also Facebook, Twitter and other social media to spread the word. But they do not have a red university. What a pity. With love from England.